So, you want to make a musical. It turns out that it's easier than you might think. In fact, there are 7 easy steps that help you turn a story into a musical, and they're true from pretty much any kind of musical that you ever might want to do. It turns out that musicals follow a pattern. Songs don't just go anywhere. Instead, there are very specific points along the story where a song is going to fit. And those points are about the same, whether it's a big Broadway musical or a Disney movie or anything in between. You're going to see these main points along the story arc where the songs show up. And there are 7 big ones. So in order, and I'm going to use Disney movies to illustrate these points, but it's true for pretty much any kind of musical. We start with one we call Our City, Our Hero. And this is used to introduce both the world that the play takes place in, or the movie takes place in, as well as the protagonist. When you watch the video about dramatic structure that's coming up, you'll find out more about the protagonist. But a protagonist is basically your hero. These include songs like Belle in Beauty and the Beast, or Circle of Life from The Lion King, or One Jump Ahead from Aladdin. They're usually pretty upbeat, and they serve 2 purposes. One, to let the audience instantly know where the story is taking place, whether it's a village in France or the plains of the Serengeti, and who the main character is going to be. This is shortly followed by a song that's called the I Want. And it's used to introduce the protagonist's goal, which is going to shape the plot. In any play or movie, the protagonist wants something, and their pursuit of that want is going to make the backbone of the whole story. So it's important that we know pretty early on what that want is. And in a musical, we always sing a song about it. So this happens between 5 and 15 minutes into the start of the movie or the play. And this includes the reprise of Belle in Beauty and the Beast, or Part of Your World in The Little Mermaid, very famous one, or Just Can't Wait to Be King from The Lion King. They introduce what the protagonist wants. Somewhere along the way, as the protagonist tries to get what they want, they encounter different obstacles. We'll talk about that when we talk about dramatic structure. But somewhere in there, we have what we call production numbers. These are big song numbers, involve the chorus and lots of spectacle. Now, in a Greek play, of course, the chorus, as we'll talk about in another video, is a group of people who comment on the action. But in a musical, the chorus is that group who sing and dance and sort of support what's going on stage. The backup singers or dancers, the members of the community, perhaps, the servants in the castle, the other fishies under the sea. These numbers in Disney musicals include Be Our Guest, or Under the Sea, or Friend Like Me from Aladdin. These are big numbers that are basically there to show off and to have fun. About midway through any play or movie, there's going to be what we call the turning point. And at this point, something happens that takes the plot in a different direction. And there's usually, in a musical, we usually point this up with a song. The protagonist is going along, pursuing their goal, and then something happens about midway through that changes everything. In Beauty and the Beast, this number is something there where it goes from Belle being sort of trapped in this castle to starting to fall in love with the Beast. That takes the story in a new direction. It's Prince Ali in Aladdin, where suddenly he goes from being a poor kid with a lamp to a prince and maybe pursuing the Princess Jasmine. There's a big change there from pauper to prince. The clearest one is in Little Mermaid, where she is transformed literally from a mermaid to a human being midway through the movie. That's a big turning point, and there's the song Unfortunate Souls that Ursula sings to underline that. Somewhere in the second half of the movie or the play, there's usually a love song. We call it the duet, because most stories have some sort of romantic pairing, and sometime in the second half they have to sing together, or be sung about at the very least. One of the most famous ones, of course, is the song Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, in which you have a teapot singing while they dance. But it's basically the same idea. Somewhere about 2/3 of the way through the movie, the romantic pair has finally got together, and we get a love song, Whole New World, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Unfortunately, things never last that are good. And so about 3/4 through player movie, things get really bad. We call this song the This Is Terrible. And it is the low point. This is where the protagonist is about to lose everything. Things get really bad, and the antagonist usually gets a song. This is the bad guy. This is the force that's working against the protagonist. The best example of this is the mob song from Beauty and the Beast, but it also includes the reprise of Prince Ali from Aladdin, or Les Poissons from Little Mermaid. It's a song that we have at the worst possible moment. Now, in any player movie, either things continue to go badly, in which case it's a tragedy from that point on, or starting from the This Is Terrible moment, the protagonist manages to pull together their strength to change things up, and eventually things come to a happy ending. In virtually every Disney movie, this is the case. And so we always end with the finale. The protagonist gets what they want, unless it's a tragedy, in which case getting what they want destroys them. We're going to see that in Oedipus. And the story comes to a happy ending, again, unless it's a tragedy, in which case it comes to a sad ending. But it always follows that same progression. We introduce the protagonist with Our City, Our Hero. Then we introduce the protagonist's want with the I Want song. Along the way, there are production numbers with lots of spectacle and chorus. Midway through, there's a turning point, and there's a song there. Sometime in the second half of the movie or the play, there's usually a romantic song, and then things get really bad, and we usually have a song at the low point, that This Is Terrible, and then finally things either resolve, or sometimes they don't, and we end with the big finale. And that is true no matter what musical you're looking at, whether it's a classic Disney movie or whether it's a Broadway musical, you're going to find the same pattern of songs in those places.